Jill Meher, a vibrant 29-year-old woman, disappeared on a chilly night in Melbourne, Australia. She was an Irish expatriate working for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and had become an integral part of the local community. That fateful night, she was enjoying a casual evening out with her colleagues in the lively neighborhood of Brunswick. As the evening wore on, she decided to call it a night and began her journey home. Jill's home was not far, just a few blocks away. It was a walk she had made countless times before. However, this night was different. This night, Jill did not make it home. As the hours ticked by, her husband Tom began to feel a gnawing sense of unease. Jill was always responsible, always reliable. It was unlike her to vanish without a trace, without so much as a call or a text message. As the night turned into early morning, Tom's worry turned into a full-blown panic. Something was wrong. In the light of day, Tom made the difficult call to the police, reporting his wife as missing. The police, initially treating it as a routine missing persons case, soon discovered something that would change the course of the investigation. They found CCTV footage showing Jill walking down Sydney Road, talking to an unknown man in a blue hoodie. Who was this man? What was his connection to Jill? The questions began to pile up, casting a dark shadow over the investigation. The vibrant woman, known for her infectious laughter and kind heart, had vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of questions and a community on edge. As the sun rose and Jill was nowhere to be found, her worried husband reported her missing. This marked the beginning of a case that would grip the nation, casting a spotlight on the dangers lurking in the shadows of our everyday lives. With Jill's disappearance now a matter of public concern, the police swung into action. The initial stages of the investigation were fraught with tension, as every passing minute heightened the fears for Jill's safety. Investigators began by combing the area for any sign of Jill or clues that might point to her whereabouts. The discovery of Jill's handbag was the first tangible piece of evidence. It was found discarded in an alleyway, its contents scattered. This chilling find led to a grim realization. Jill's disappearance was no ordinary missing persons case. The police had to consider the possibility that something more sinister had occurred. The investigation took a significant turn with the release of CCTV footage. Captured in grainy black and white, the footage showed Jill speaking to an unidentified man in a blue hoodie. It was the last known sighting of Jill, a haunting image that would sear itself into the public's consciousness. As the evidence mounted, the case shifted from a missing person to a potential homicide. The Homicide Squad, a team of seasoned detectives, took charge. They were tasked with piecing together the puzzle, retracing Jill's steps, and identifying the man in the blue hoodie. Their objective was clear: to find Jill and bring her home. But as they delved deeper, they found themselves navigating a labyrinth of dark possibilities. The optimism of finding Jill alive began to fade, replaced by a grim determination to uncover the truth. The investigation was no longer just about finding Jill. It was about seeking justice. The public watched in anxious anticipation as the police worked tirelessly, each new revelation adding another layer of dread to the unfolding narrative. Jill's disappearance had become a horrifying reality, a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. The investigation took a dark turn as Jill's case was handed over to the Homicide Squad. The stage was set for a desperate race against time, a search for answers that would plunge the entire nation into a chilling saga of fear and heartbreak. 5 days after Jill's disappearance, police arrested a man named Adrian Ernest Bailey. This name would soon become infamous throughout Australia, a chilling symbol of a broken parole system. Bailey was not a stranger to law enforcement. His criminal history painted a picture of a man who had been a menace to society for years. In August of 1990, Bailey attempted to rape a 17-year-old girl. Only a few months later, in December of the same year, he abducted and attempted to rape a teenage hitchhiker. By 1991, he had pleaded guilty to both offenses and was sentenced to 5 years in jail. He was released after serving 22 months. It wasn't long before Bailey was back to his old habits. In September of the year 2000, he began a spree of attacks on women working as prostitutes in Melbourne's St Kilda red light district. These horrific crimes led to his second prison sentence in April of 2002. He was jailed for 11 years after pleading guilty to the rapes. In 2010, Bailey was released on parole after completing a sex offender program. He was back on the streets, a ticking time bomb. In August of 2011, he assaulted a man in Geelong and was bailed pending appeal against the sentence. Then, in September of 2012, while still on parole, Bailey attacked Jill Megha as she was walking home. The man, who had been seen in the CCTV footage with Jill, was now under arrest. The charming face that Jill had encountered that fateful night was actually a mask, hiding the true nature of a dangerous predator. Bailey, a man who had slipped through the cracks of the justice system, was now in police custody. His arrest marked a turning point in the investigation, bringing us one step closer to understanding the tragic fate of Jill Megha. Bailey, a face of menace hidden under the guise of an everyday man, was now in police custody. In the face of mounting evidence, Adrian Ernest Bailey confessed to the unthinkable. His words sent a chill down the spine of those who heard it. This man, already a notorious sex offender, admitted to the heinous act of raping and murdering Jill Megha, a vibrant young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. In a chilling recount, Bailey described the horrifying events that transpired that night. He had seen Jill walking alone, vulnerable, and had seized the opportunity to prey on her. The details were stark, the confession bone-chilling. A sense of dread hung in the air as Bailey led the police to the place where he had buried Jill's body, near Gisborne South. Upon discovery, the scene was a grim testament to the brutality of Bailey's crime. Jill's body bore the horrific evidence of assault and rape, and a forensic pathologist determined the cause of her death to be compression of the neck. Bailey's confession had been corroborated in the most gruesome way imaginable. This was a stark revelation that sent shockwaves through the nation. Jill, a charming young woman who had moved to Australia from Ireland, had been brutally taken by a man who should not have been roaming the streets. This was not just Bailey's failure, but a failure of the system that had allowed him to be free despite his criminal past. This was a moment of profound sorrow and outrage. The loss of Jill Megha was not only a personal tragedy for her loved ones, but it was also a national tragedy. Her death was a stark reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows, the threat that women face every day simply for existing. It was a wake-up call for society, a call for justice, and a call for change. As the grim reality set in, an entire nation mourned Jill's tragic end. Justice was swift and unyielding for Adrian Ernest Bailey. The trial, which began in March 2013, was a chilling culmination of a horrific series of events. Bailey initially pleaded not guilty to the charges of murder and rape, but in a sudden twist by April, he changed his plea to guilty. The courtroom was a tableau of tension and grief as the judge handed down the sentence. Bailey was sentenced to life imprisonment with a 35-year non-parole period for the rape and murder of Jill Megha. But justice didn't stop there. In May 2015, Bailey faced the court again, this time for 3 additional rape convictions. The court added 18 years to his sentence. However, in July 2016, his sentence was reduced to 40 years, a decision that sparked public outcry and heated debate. The fallout from Jill's murder reverberated far beyond the courtroom walls. The case had exposed fatal flaws in Australia's parole system. Bailey, a repeat offender, was out on parole at the time of Jill's murder. This shocking revelation led to widespread criticism and demands for reform. In response, changes were made to the parole system. More stringent measures were put in place to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. The case served as a grim reminder of the societal changes needed to ensure the safety of all citizens. Jill's memory lived on, not just in the hearts of her loved ones, but also in the collective consciousness of a nation. Her tragic end sparked conversations around women's safety and societal responsibility. The public outcry, the marches, and the vigils held in her name were testament to a country grappling with grief, anger, and a demand for change. In the wake of Jill's murder, a country grappled with grief, anger, and a demand for change.